So Majora's Mask had the difficult task of following one of the greatest games ever made all time.
And they veered
literally
really far off course from it too.
Yes, they did. And I think they realized when they were looking at Majora's Mask, they're like, okay, we have to go completely away from this past element that we did.
Yeah.
And they did, but they still took a lot of the successful elements. They still took, in a sense, that time travel.
Yeah.
That time travel that they used. It's just, it goes from 7 years in one game to 3 days in the other. Yeah. But man, to be able to say, hey, we followed up Ocarina of Time with Majora's Mask, like that right there set such a precedent for the gaming industry.
Oh, it did.
And it raised the bar so high for developers, because how do you even begin to follow those two?
You really can't. I mean,
they did successfully.
After those, what did we get? It was Wind Waker.
Wind Waker and the Twilight Princess. I think they had something. I never got into the Game Boy games, but I think they had some of the Game Boy games in there.
There was a bunch along the lines.
Yeah.
There was the Minish Cap and Link's Awakening and Four Swords, the 4-player co-op one.
Yep.
They were trying to like push the envelope with the Game Boy versions of the game, but every single time they dropped another actual like main console game, it was better than the last in some aspects. Like Ocarina of Time is arguably one of the best games of all time for everything it did at the time. And then Majora's Mask, I consider Majora's Mask to be the Dark Souls of Nintendo.
Oh, really?
Like, it was, for me as a kid, that game was nearly impossible.
Frustrated.
I had no internet to rely on. I had no way to look things up and be like, help, how do I get through this? So I just had to like fight and figure out how to just piece things together. And getting hit by that moon for the 10th time in a row, just because you don't know what you're doing and you can't get that far through the game, you're just like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
I remember giving up on it for like a year, and I had to come back after someone.
That frustrating, yeah.
Yeah. Someone was like, hey, you should play Majora's Mask. I know you've got it. Let me just show you what to do in some places. And I got some help, and I played it, and I loved it once I figured it out.
Right.
Like the Zorro mask. You remember that?
The Zoran mask.
Zoran mask.
Yeah, or Zoran. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Zora,
they are because you had Princess Zora from Ocarina of Time, and then her dad was the big the big fish that you had to squeak by, made those little squeaky noises. It took him like 45 minutes just to scoot across the screen. You're like, come on, dude, just fall off already.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know who you're talking about, the Zora mask, and it actually allows you to like take their powers, if I remember correctly.
Take their powers. Yeah. Every mask you got in the game lets you do whatever the race or whatever or species, you could copy their abilities. So you could swim really, really well with the Zora mask on, and with what was the rock people?
The Gorons. Yeah.
You could like pick up huge rocks and do stuff with that. There was just...
What an underrated game. Now that we're literally sitting here talking about it, how incredibly... And it's not... I don't even know if we can consider it underrated because of everything that it accomplished. And I don't know too many people that don't love it.
I think the people that love it are the people that actually were good enough to get through it. The people, like, it wasn't as, lauded as all the other games. It wasn't as praised because I feel like it wasn't as accepting and easy to get into. Because Ocarina of Time, it's hard at aspects. Like, parts are really difficult in that game. Like, some of the bosses drove me crazy.
What did you think of the water temple?
Oh, it's hell. It's absolute hell.
The first couple times I did it, it was absolute hell. Once you figure it out and once you know the pattern, it becomes easy. But I think that can be said for any game. But I think, we see memes about the water temple all the time and how all water temples just completely suck ass.
Just about all of them, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's a fair argument that people remember, because you can remember back to that first or second time actually trying to go through the water temple and being frustrated. Oh, yeah. And you're right, if you didn't have that walkthrough, and when we were growing up, when you didn't have that physical walk through those big ass books that you can pull up.
But I don't.
Oh, yeah. And you can just do 100% of the walkthrough going through that. Now, we're getting so off course here, but that's okay. We're going to come back to the question. These walkthroughs, do you feel like those took away from games?
In a way, they did. It didn't because the games were built in such a way that you kind of needed a walkthrough to get through it. You know what I mean? Now, games aren't built in that way because we have the internet. There's no point in trying to sell an extra book when there's the internet because no one's going to buy the book.
No, why would they when they can just go on Game Facts or what?
YouTube it.
Game Winners,
Yeah.
man, Game Winners. Is that? I don't wonder if that site's even still in existence.
Probably not.
Probably not. God, a lot of those, man. Those were the days. Those were back in the cheat code days. Back on those cheat code days actually went a lot longer. They're actually still in some games.
A lot of them, yeah. There's a few, but a lot of the games that do that are indie games. I've noticed.
Yeah.
Like not big AAA games. Like there's no cheat codes for like Anthem or whatever. Oh man, I saw someone say Legend of Zelda: The Skyward Sword, which is the only Legend of Zelda game that I haven't played.
Skyward Sword.
Skyward Sword.
Yeah, I played it for a little bit. You're right. I never beat it. I think that's literally the only one I think I haven't beaten. Well, I haven't even played Breath of the Wild yet. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. I deserve the look. I deserve the look because I am a huge Zelda fan, but I do not have a Switch.
That game changed it for me, man.
What do you mean? Okay, so how does this stack up against the other Zelda games? Because you've played them all now.
Yeah.
You know that looking back on Ocarina of Time, we've already talked about that in past episodes. Majora's Mask, what we just talked about.
Yeah.
We already know how that lives up and how much that alone changed a game as a follow-up to Ocarina of Time. So where does Breath of Wild stand for you in this? What did it change, like your perspective-wise on gaming?
It honestly wasn't a perspective change as much as it was a breath of fresh air. That game was so clean, no bullshit, just a fun experience. It wasn't hard, though. There wasn't that much challenge to it. That was the only issue that I had, was it was not like, it's a relaxing game. You could make it more challenging now, because I played it when it first came out, and there was no like new game plus option. There was no master mode. There wasn't any of the like challenges or anything like that. It was just the game, and the object of the game is for you to go defeat the 4 like big Titan enemies, and then go beat Ganon.
Okay, so break down without spoiling it, because I'm gonna play it eventually. I really want to, but for other people who haven't either. What is just an overview of the plot of this game? Like, when does it take? I don't even know the timeline of these Zelda games.
It's like 100 years in the future, essentially, from Twilight Princess.
See, I don't even know where Twilight Princess stands.
It's all over the place. The actual like chronological storyline is all over the place.
Actually, I don't. God, I'm gonna be completely wrong about this, but I think they've actually like chalked even some of it up to like the multiverse, like Hyrule.
Some of them.
I don't know for a fact though, but I think I remember reading that.
Yeah, no, that's pretty accurate if I remember correctly. But essentially, it's 100 years in the future. Ganon won.
Oh, he won.
He won.
So this is post Ganon.
Right.
So do they actually? And this is something that I'd love to see if there's some lore on this. Do they actually talk at all about maybe like in a Hyrule, like the actual wars, like the battles that took place with Ganon's army, or if he even had an army, or how he came?
There was some flashbacks to it, but the way I understand it is there's always Link, there's always Zelda, and there's always Ganon.
Yeah.
Every 100 years or so, they come together, they fight it out, and then based on whoever wins the next 100 years is going to be good or bad. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if Link wins, if Link and Zelda win, it's balanced, everything's okay. But Ganon's coming back again. Link's going to die, Link is going to be reborn. Ganon dies, Ganon's going to be reborn. It happens in like a cyclical fashion, and it's like an eternal battle between good and evil.
So it's biblical, almost.
Essentially.
All right.
But it's the Triforce, you know? There's power, wisdom, and... what's the third one?
Gamer Girl Condoms.
Gamer Girl Condoms.
That's the third one. That's the one in the Triforce. There we go. I just don't know what the third one is. I know you're right on the first
Courage.
two. Courage. Yes, courage. You are absolutely right. It is courage.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that a little bit. I kind of like that. I wish... I mean, listen, the MCU, what Marvel has done is kind of changed everything and what we expect from franchises and series is now. And that's 100% not fair to even bring in to gaming, just because I imagine that would be insanely difficult to do.
Yeah.
However, I'd like to see it done.